Hi, I'm Ami Desai.
And I'm Roland Tellis.
And this is BizWeek India.
Let's get started. We've got a great show this week.
Yes, we do. First, we sat down with a 26-year-old multimillionaire who got rejected from a job at McDonald's.
You got to really figure out what's your core, what's going to make you happy. What are you going to do when you leap out of bed every morning and says, I want to go to work?
We also had the opportunity to speak with President and CEO of GE India.
I have tremendous hope for the country. Over the next 20 to 50 years, it will become one of the major economies in the world.
And much more, so let's get to it. Earlier this week, I had a chance to spend time with Gurbaksh Chahal, who's now worth in excess of $300 million. But he didn't start out that way. Eager to work, Gurbaksh began job hunting in his teens, but he couldn't even land a spot at McDonald's. I met Gurbaksh at his lavish penthouse in San Francisco, where he gave the BizWeek India team a personal tour and shared with us his secrets of success. Well, thanks so much for having us. This is a gorgeous place.
Thank you.
So you're 26. I imagine you're the youngest tenant.
I think so.
Okay, well, why don't you show me around?
Sure.
Gorgeous. Now, the first thing we notice when we come in is this, your little monogram.
As you know, being Indian, G actually is respectful
Right,
for
of
being
course.
respectful of someone. And my name is Gurbaksh, but nobody knows how to pronounce it, so everybody just started calling me G. It's a dining room. I don't really eat her up that much on it, but it's a family type of room where when my family does come over, I get to share that experience. That right there is actually a actual crown from India. It's 150 years old. So
have you ever tried it on?
I'm afraid. I don't want to break it.
I know. All this art.
I kind of wanted a certain element in certain rooms and kind of just bring it to life. Something's formal, something more young and vibrant, and kind of made it up all the way along. Probably the room that I spent the most time with is the living room.
It's gorgeous. Gorgeous view.
Yeah, so the living room, the balcony, and you know, the music is kind of sound system here, so I'm big on music, big on entertaining. I got a pool room over there as well that we can go check out. Just a great place to hang out, socialize, and you know, talk and chill. So.
Let's go back to the beginning. So you're 16 and you're in high school. How do you just conjure up an idea to start this, you know, multi-million-dollar venture?
You know, I wasn't really even fond of school. While I was forced to be a good student, I was trying to go ahead and then also help my family out since we were struggling. And my first job was applying for McDonald's. It didn't work out. I didn't get the job. And then I just said, hey, you know, might as well just be self-employed. It was 1998. The internet was 3 years old. So the good thing was not a lot of people knew what it was. I looked at the way ads were being delivered. I found out that, okay, I need a technology. I'm not a good math student, so I don't know how to program. So I ended up going on the internet and found out someone that actually had it. And it's really just finding the missing parts, not figuring out like you're Superman and figuring out you can do it on your own because nobody's Superman. But just finding out what you need, you know, what the missing parts are, find them and go get them.
How was that when you know, sat your parents down and were like, I'm dropping out of high school and I'm very, you know, confident about what I'm pursuing here?
Well, first of all, I just want to preface that, don't drop out. I'm a big proponent of education and, you know, the system and the way it can teach people. And I think that if I would have stayed in school and learned the stuff and still had the right opportunity, I probably would have made a lot less mistakes. But given I was given the opportunity and given the situation I was in, I went to my dad and said, hey, I got to talk to you about something. And he's like, what? I showed him the bank statement and it had $100,000 in it. And he freaked out, thought I was going to jail, doing something illegal. And once everything was calm, and I think my parents realized most importantly is the dream that you look for when you come to America is like, how do you become successful? Right. And sometimes it's that preconceived notion that you become successful by being an engineer, being a doctor, being what your parents want. And I think at that moment they realized that it's not that preconceived notion, it's the fact that you found something and you're onto something, and if you restrict them from doing it, it could probably be the biggest mistake. So I had their support. The next day I went with my dad to the dean's office and said, capiche, I'm out.
Wow. So you're a prolific innovator. Tell us your secret.
I don't consider myself as an innovator. I mean, anything that's very big or very successful or dominant started off with something that already existed. And that's kind of the way I looked at stuff, is I was a 16-year-old. I mean, what do I know about advertising, right? But I do know that there's somebody doing it, and this is how they're doing it. So as long as I can trace my steps to find out how they're doing it, then it's really, I have a basis of where I am, and then I can go ahead and start, being the instructor in the orchestra and change a few things around so my music is slightly a little different. And that's what I did in both of my companies, where there were Me Too's, but by the time that they got sold, there were different entities. They had their own niche. And that's the whole thing about starting something and doing something, whether it is a business or whether it's any type of business, is just finding out what you want to do, be good at it, beat the person that's already doing it, and then be better.
For those that are inspired by you, there's going to be many more people that are intrigued by what you've accomplished at such a young age. What would you say is the one key piece of advice that you would give to people?
A lot of people, I think, get stuck on the idea of they want to make money. Or, I've heard a million times people come up to me and says, just give me an idea. Just give me an idea. What's a great idea I should start a business on? But that's not them, right? It's like, you got to really figure out what's your core, what's going to make you happy. What are you going to do when you leap out of bed every morning and says, I want to go to work, right? I mean, and I think a lot of people struggle to do that in their entire life. They don't really know what they want to do. Or they're living for their parents, or they're living for their spouses, or they're living for the money. And I never chased the money. I never woke up every day thinking I was going to sell my company for 40 million or 300 million, or if I was going to be a millionaire or anything like that. It just kind of happened. Mm-hmm. I think it's like, be an open mind. Don't live for others. Live for yourself. Figure out what you want to do and just go out and get it.
Coming up, what does General Electric plan to do with $5 billion in India? We'll tell you after the break.